Okay, guys, welcome back. Chapter 14, Section 3. Toothless and I are at it again. I had to wake him up from his nap so he could fall back to sleep. All right, anyways, here we go. Chapter 14, Section 3, starting on page 434. The Women's Movement, American Diary. When Lucy Stone attended college, she faced many challenges. Her daughter Alice Stone Blackwell recalled, quote, At the low wages then paid women, it took Lucy 9 years to save up money enough to enter college, close quote. Stone attended Oberlin College in Ohio, which was the first college in the United States to admit women. Stone graduated from Oberlin in 1847 and became a strong supporter of women's rights. From Lucy Stone, pioneer of women's rights. Women and reform. Main idea. Women organized to win equal rights. History and you. Can you imagine a time when women were not allowed to vote and had limited access to education and jobs? Read to learn how women worked to change their status in America. Many women abolitionists also worked for women's rights. Like many of the women reformers, Lucretia Mott was a Quaker. Quaker women enjoyed a certain amount of equality in their own communities. Mott helped fugitive enslaved workers and organized the Philadelphia Female Anti-Slavery Society. At the World Anti-Slavery Convention in London, she met Elizabeth Cady Stanton. There, they joined forces to work for women's rights. The Seneca Falls Convention. In July 1848, Stanton, Mott, and other women organized the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls, New York. About 200 women and 40 men attended. The convention used a declaration of sentiments and resolutions. The declaration called for an end to laws that discriminated against women. It also demanded that women be allowed to enter the all-male world of trades, professions, and businesses. The most controversial issue at the Seneca Falls Convention, however, was about suffrage, or the right to vote. Elizabeth Stanton insisted that the declaration include a demand for women's suffrage. The delegates, however, thought the idea of women voting was too radical. Lucretia Mott told her friend, Lizzie, thee will make us ridiculous, close quote. Standing with Stanton, the abolitionist Frederick Douglass argued powerfully for women's right to vote. After a heated debate, the convention voted to include the demand for women's suffrage in the United States. Growth of women's movement. The Seneca Falls Convention paved the way for the growth of the women's rights movement. During the 1800s, women held several national conventions, including the first National Women's Rights Convention in Worcester, Massachusetts. A number of reformers, both male and female, joined the growing movement. Skips over to page 437. Susan B. Anthony was the daughter of a Quaker abolitionist in New York. Anthony worked for women's rights and temperance. She called for equal pay for women, college training for girls, and coeducation, or the teaching of males and females together. Anthony organized the country's first women's temperance association, the Daughters of Temperance. Anthony met Elizabeth Cady Stanton at a temperance meeting in 1851. They became lifelong friends and partners in the struggle for women's rights and suffrage. For the rest of the century, Anthony and Stanton led the women's movement. They worked with other women to win the right to vote. Beginning with Wyoming in 1890, several states granted women's suffrage. It would not be until 1920, however, that women would gain the right to vote throughout the United States. Progress by women. Main idea. Women made progress in achieving equality in education, marriage laws, and professional employment. History and you. Are there some laws that you consider unfair or unjust? Read to learn how some women worked to change laws and social customs that they thought were unjust. Pioneers in women's education began to call for more opportunity. Early champions such as Catherine Beecher and Emma Hart Willard believed that women should be educated for their traditional roles in life. They also thought that women could be capable or skillful teachers. The Milwaukee College for Women created courses based on Beecher's ideas to train women to be healthful, intelligent, and successful wives, mothers, and housekeepers. Page 438. Education. Some young women began to make their own opportunities. They broke the barriers to female education and helped other women do the same. After her marriage, Emma Willard educated herself in subjects considered suitable only for males, such as science and mathematics. In 1821, Willard set up the Troy Female Seminary in upstate New York. Willard's seminary taught mathematics, history, geography, and physics, as well as the usual homemaking subjects. Mary Lyon established Mount Holyoke Female Seminary in Massachusetts in 1837. She modeled its curriculum on that of nearby Amherst College. Marriage and family laws. During the mid to late 1800s, women made some gains in marriage and property laws. New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Wisconsin, Mississippi, and the new state of California recognized the right of women to own property after their marriage. Some states passed laws permitting divorced women to share the guardianship of their children with their husbands. Indiana was the first of several states that allowed women to seek divorce if their husbands were chronic abusers of alcohol. Breaking barriers. In the 1800s, women had few career choices. They could become elementary teachers, but school boards often paid lower salaries to women than to men. Employment in professions that were dominated by men, such as medicine and the ministry or Christian service, was even more difficult. Some strong-minded women, however, succeeded. For example, Elizabeth Blackwell's medical school application was turned down repeatedly. Finally accepted by Geneva College in New York, Blackwell graduated first in her class and achieved fame as a doctor. Despite the accomplishments of notable women and their gains in education, state laws, and employment opportunities, women remained limited by social customs and expectations. Women had just begun the long struggle to achieve their goal of equality. Reading check. Identifying. What gains were made by women in the field of education? Section 3 review. Please define each of the following terms. Suffrage, coeducation, capable, ministry. Main ideas. Listing. What opportunities were reserved for males in the middle to late 1800s? 3. Explaining. Describe the rights within marriage that women gained in the 1800s. Okay, he was kind of hiding down there, but he was being as relaxed as possible. That concludes Chapter 14, Section 3. Okay, Toothless and Coakley out.